Coroner to the Stars. Very LA centric of a movie. This is about Dr. Thomas Noguchi, who was for about a 15-year period in the 60s through the early 80s. He was the chief medical examiner and coroner of Los Angeles County, an immigrant from Japan in the post-World War II era where the Japanese were not quite welcome in this country. He still worked really hard and rose through the ranks as a pathologist, became the county coroner. Part of his duty was to basically lead the autopsies and medical examinations of some of the most famous and infamous celebrity deaths that have happened in this city. The first one being RFK, Bobby Kennedy, when he got assassinated. We all know the history of Sirhan Sirhan with regard to that, but the big thing is Noguchi raised some eyebrows because he said that the shot came from behind that killed Kennedy, not from in front. He concluded essentially that Sirhan fired but missed, and the actual fatal bullet was friendly fire from Secret Service and law enforcement. That definitely got him into some trouble because his findings did not fit the narrative. So we have this whole kind of history of his career with some of his former colleagues that are still alive. George Takei, the famous actor from Star Trek, who was interned as a Japanese American during the war. There's a whole subsection about how race plays a role in this whole thing, to the point where he nearly lost his job once after the RFK report, and then lost it permanently after the deaths of William Holden and Natalie Wood, because basically Hollywood got behind their friends and said, why are you saying that William Holden was drunk when he died? He wasn't an alcoholic. Someone heard screams from the boat. How do you say that Natalie Wood's death was an accident? You know, I was like, there's a weird kind of synergy with it where it's Dr. Noguchi's commitment to being as accurate as possible, but he does enjoy the cameras. He does enjoy the intention. And there's a side tangent about the creation of the television show Quincy M.E., which kind of inflated his own ego because Quincy had a Japanese assistant on the show, but the actual Quincy was much more based on Noguchi. And then Noguchi in turn said, well, maybe I need to be a bit more flamboyant and Hollywood with this. Like there's a weird kind of conundrum about this. There are some liberties taken. There's some important details that were omitted for the sake of the film. But, you know, to basically have this idea of, you know, this one man was put in charge of so many high profile investigations where police, law enforcement, lawyers, they have their own agenda of who to arrest and who to prosecute, you know, to get convictions, all that fun stuff. But sometimes the science doesn't align with that. And it's a question of, do you change the narrative or do you change the facts? You know, his work led to the arrest of Charles Manson because he did the autopsy on Sharon Tate. But at the same time, his thoroughness and his ability to buck what other people are saying with his medical opinions ended up being his own downfall. And Dr. Noguchi, he's still alive. He's 98 years old. He's still alive, and he did attend the festival. He attended the screening. So like, death is basically all around, has been part of his life. But he's found these grace notes throughout, mostly due to his late wife, but also just this commitment to the truth, you know, wherever it may lead. And yeah, he admits he's made mistakes, which is a very humanizing characteristic. Like just this ability to say, yeah, I am an imperfect being created by an imperfect being. It's like, just having that humility puts him above a lot of other documentary subjects we've seen over the years. So that allows us to basically say, like, well, maybe race did play a part in his disciplinary actions. Like, you know, one of the major points is post RFK. This isn't mentioned in the movie, but he did tender his resignation, but then tried to withdraw it, and then he basically had to be in hearings to see if he could keep his job. We just skipped to the hearings. We don't mention that he initially was willing to resign. Instead, we frame it around a county board member who was like in charge of budgeting and everything like that. He was asking for more money to basically properly staff his office. You know, there at the time, his office was equipped to handle about 1,200 something cases a year and they were trying to handle like 8,000, like just dangerously understaffed. And the board guy's like, no, you're not getting any money. So he went above their head straight to the LA Board of Supervisors, who gave him the money. And there's a story thread about, that angry, disgruntled individual who was at the time very anti-immigrant, trying to crusade as revenge. How true that is, who knows? It definitely fits an entertaining narrative, which kind of circles back on Noguchi anyway. So who knows what exact liberties were taken, but it fits, and that's what kind of makes this fascinating. Because again, celebrity deaths are not a new topic. We get them every few days. I mean, as the time we're recording this, we're only 2 weeks removed from Gene Hackman. It's like, and that happened under very mysterious circumstances. And now we know that there's, potential like rare heart diseases and hantavirus and all this other stuff associated with how Hackman and his wife and his dog all passed away within a few days of each other and weren't discovered till a week later. Like horrible tragedy. But this is the kind of thing that would have been Noguchi's bread and butter.
This is the BTRP Media Network.